Well, hello again and welcome to the VK6CS amateur radio channel. What I've done is I've just, because it was getting a little bit tedious keying the power amp by hand, I've just put a little interfacing relay in there. You can see that. It's a little 12 volt relay, because remember the keying voltage from the linear amp is a negative voltage and that can't be switched with the FT450 because the FT450 doesn't have a relay on the linear keying line. It's got an NPN transistor and that's not going to switch a negative voltage. So there's a little relay that I've put in there. I'll just press the PTT on the 450. And you can see that little relay coming in, and you can hear the big relay coming in on the amplifier. And you'll see there's a couple of little red wires there, and they go into the, I haven't got a plug, but they go into the linear jack on the FT450, and they go around there to the keying line on the amplifier. And what I did was I just looked at the this is the linear socket on the back of the FT450. You can see pin 3 there is the ground. I didn't really need that because the relay is being switched to a common supply. The supply is common to the FT450. So there's 13.8 volts comes out of pin 1, and the collector of the keying transistor is on pin 2. So that's all I've done. I've extended the from pin 1 is one of the red wires out to the relay coil, and the other side of the relay coil goes back in to there, so that I can key the amplifier. It doesn't switch the my little matching tuner out, so I have to leave that in line when I use the amplifier on the air. As you saw from the previous video, running the amplifier at 200 watts doesn't seem to make a great deal of difference to the received signal at the other end. And if you think about it, you know, even if I'd have gone from 100 watts to full legal in Australia, which is 400 watts, that's only a 6 dB increase. So if I was 9 plus 20 with 400 watts, I'd have been 9 plus 14 with 100 watts. So, you know, there's not a huge amount of difference as far as the received signal goes. A bit of extra power can be handy just to punch the signal through if it's noisy, but generally speaking, I reckon I could have reduced it, well, if I'd have reduced it another 3 dB last night and turned the radio down to 50 watts, it wouldn't have made a significant difference. I mean, people were giving me 9 plus 20 reports, and even if it was 9 plus 10, say, with the just with the 100 watts, if I went down to 50 watts, it'd be 9 plus 7. So, you know, that's the sort of difference we're talking about. There we go. That's actually a bit more, isn't it? That's actually 300 watts. I didn't realise I was doing that. So that was probably a little bit too much power for the auto tuner. But it is SSB, so hopefully it didn't notice. What does the output waveform look like? Well, on the scope, that's the output from the linear. And what's the output from the drive radio look like? Turn the linear off. It'll be smaller, of course. There we go. So that's the drive waveform going into the amplifier. So that's the arrangement at the moment. I've still got that matching that to that, but at least I can key the amplifier. I can key the amplifier using that little relay there, which makes life much easier. If I thought I was going to keep this arrangement, I could get another one of those relays and use it just to switch the tuner in and out, so that the tuner is on bypass on receive. I don't know, because as I've said before, I don't like using this between the two devices, so I think I'll try and sort out the matching to this if I can. I was really quite disappointed yesterday that it didn't go, the valves didn't go nice and blue in the dark when I was talking through them. Got the power meter there. There we go. There's the sniffer. It goes round there to the switch, and it will switch to the dummy load. As you can see, it switches to the dummy load at the moment, or if it switches the other way, that's to the antenna. So the idea is turn the linear off, take this out of circuit, press the PTT on the drive radio with about 20 watts coming out of it, let the auto tuner tune to the match the antenna to the frequency I'm going to use, tune the amplifier to 50 ohms using the dummy load, switch the amplifier in circuit, put that in circuit, and then switch the switch over to the antenna, and I'm good to go. So that's the way that's done. Now, I was looking at one of these CB guys the other day, and I do watch them from time to time. I think it's quite interesting, and some of it's quite funny. They make these gargantuan amplifiers for CB radio in America, and there's a guy there. He's got a solid state 500 watt amplifier, and he's got 3 birds through lines hooked up to it, and they like the birds. It's always 500 bird or 1,000 bird, because we all know that the bird watts are magic watts. They're much bigger than everybody else's, and he said, look at that, 500 watts of clean power. And I was sort of waiting for the look at the scope or the spectrum analyzer, but no, he's just looking at the power meter and he's going 500 watts. Look at that, 500 watts of clean power. And I thought, not demonstrated. How do we know? It could look like a Toblerone, could look like an Alpine View coming out of it. Could be all sorts of nasty stuff coming out of it. But there we go. I don't think I've seen any of those guys show any kind of output waveform on those big amplifiers. But still, fun to watch. Probably not so much fun to live next door to. Okay, well, I hope you found that interesting. As always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.